The first thing I taste is smoke. The second is betrayal. Reina, don't. His voice cuts through the roaring flames, rough and desperate, but I've already pressed my palms into the sigil. Fire answers like an old friend eager for vengeance. The air trembles, walls split, and my magic turns the world into molten light. I warned you, I whisper. You burn with me. Darius stumbles toward me, his coat half-torn, face streaked with soot and tears. Tears. He shouldn't be allowed to cry. Not after what he did. You don't understand, he shouts, coughing as smoke claws at his throat. They forced me. Liar. My voice cracks like the flame. You gave them my name. You stood there while they condemned me to die. Behind him the tower is collapsing. The enchanted barrier holding the flames and bursts outward, raining embers over the hidden city below. I can hear the sirens now, the veiled guard. The same mages who branded me a heretic, a traitor to our kind. He reaches for me through the fire. Reina, listen to me. There was a mark, I don't want your excuses. I snap. If you wanted me alive, you wouldn't have let them cut out my sigil. My hand trembles. The phoenix oath circle pulses beneath me, its light blinding. I can feel it calling to my soul, begging me to complete the incantation. I was never meant to use it. It's forbidden magic, the kind that rips through the veil itself. But I've already lost everything. So what's one more rule shattered? He drops to his knees, voice breaking. Please. I never wanted this. You wanted power, I hiss. You wanted to be their golden boy. The perfect human who tamed the witch. A beam cracks overhead. Dust and heat explode around us. For one heartbeat I see him clearly, the man I once loved, the man who promised to protect me. His aura flickers, silver streaked with black. Corrupted. I should hate him. I should. But my voice shakes as I whisper the last words of the oath. When the ashes fall, let me rise once more. Until truth burns clean. Darius's eyes widen. Reina, no. You'll tear your soul apart. Good. I smile through the smoke. Maybe then you'll finally feel what you've done. He lunges forward. His fingers brush my cheek, warm, trembling. And for a heartbeat I see fear, not cruelty. Something buried, struggling to surface. A faint shimmer at his throat, a glyph. A binding mark. My mind stutters. What? He opens his mouth, but the spell takes me first. Light explodes. The flames surge upward, devouring everything, pulling me into the vortex of my own making. Pain floods every nerve. I can hear my own scream echoing through eternity. Then nothing. Darkness. Silence. Until, drip. A drop of rain hits my cheek. Then another. I gasp and sit up, choking on air that tastes too clean. The tower, the burning, the screams, it's gone. The sky above is soft gray. Morning. Alive. I'm lying on wet cobblestones in the middle of the Mage District. The same one that burned a year ago. The same one I died in. My hand trembles as I lift it. The phoenix sigil still burns faintly in my palm, glowing ember red beneath my skin. My pulse hammers. No way. People pass me by, wrapped in cloaks, their magic faintly shimmering in the morning haze. No one looks at me twice. Either I'm invisible, or fate just rewound the entire damned world. My voice is barely a whisper. The phoenix oath worked. The realization hits like a spell blast. I'm back. Before the betrayal. Before the execution. And Darius Varen, the man who destroyed me, is still alive. The thought floods me with rage so sharp it tastes like blood. But beneath it, something darker twists. The echo of his voice in the fire. They forced me. I shake it off. Lies are easier to tell than truth. Especially for men like him. I stand brushing soot from my torn cloak, my magic humming just beneath my skin. The power feels different now, deeper, wilder, as if the flames remember dying with me. Somewhere in the city bells toll. The day of his campaign speech. The day everything started. I let out a slow, shaking breath. All right, Varen, I whisper. Let's see how you like it when the fire burns your side this time. The rain catches fire in my palm as I walk away. Tiny sparks trailing behind me like breadcrumbs through time. I woke up choking on starlight. The air tasted like copper and stormwater, too real to be a dream. My lungs burned, and when I clawed at my throat, I found no wound, no blood, no scorch marks from my own dying flame. Just smooth skin, unmarred. What? The word broke in my mouth. What kind of cruel joke is this? The ceiling above me wasn't the crumbling vault of the High Court's dungeon. It was the cracked plaster of my old apartment, the one I hadn't seen in 3 years. The hum of the city outside bled through the thin walls. Horns. Voices. Life. I stumbled to the mirror, half expecting a ghost. But there I was, younger. Maybe by 2 years. My eyes glowed faintly, not from dying fire magic, but from raw energy thrumming beneath my skin. My power had returned. No. Time had rewound. The last thing I remembered was betrayal. Darius's face shadowed by guilt, his hand on my heart as he whispered, "Forgive me." Then flame. Pain. Silence. Now I was back before it all fell apart. A laugh tore out of me, jagged and wrong. Looks like the universe just made its biggest mistake. A knock at the door cut through my thoughts. My body moved on instinct, gathering heat at my fingertips. When I opened it, my neighbor Mira stood there wide-eyed. "Reina? You're up early. You look pale." If only she knew. Mira was one of the few humans in the city who had no clue magic pulsed beneath its streets. The Witches' Coven, the Mage Clans, the Blood Pacts, all hidden under the illusion of normal life. I forced a smile. "Rough dream. Coffee?" She nodded, stepping inside. As she talked about deadlines and broken elevators, I studied her. Alive, untouched, still breathing. In my last life, Mira had been burned alive when Darius's men purged my entire block. My stomach twisted. I wanted to tell her everything, to warn her, but the words caught in my throat. If time had rewound, if I truly had a second chance, I couldn't afford to mess it up. Not yet. When she left, I pressed my palms together, drawing the ancient sigil that once marked me as a high fire witch. The symbol burned faintly gold against my skin. The magic answered. It recognized me, and with it came a voice, deep, distant, echoing from the embers of my past life. "Reina, the cycle bends for vengeance. But vengeance burns more than your enemies. Let it," I whispered, summoning a small flame that danced across my fingertips. "I've already burned once." I spent the next hours mapping out the timeline. If I was right, the Coven's betrayal hadn't happened yet. Darius hadn't ascended to the High Council. And the artifact, the Ember Heart, was still hidden. That was my leverage. My revenge. My redemption. I would make every one of them feel what I felt when they left me to die. By nightfall, the city's underbelly shimmered with enchantments. Spells disguised as neon lights. Wards humming in alleyways. I walked through it like a ghost returned to her hunting ground. A familiar figure leaned against the wall near the old spell bazaar. Jet black hair. That same reckless smirk. "Reina Vale," he said, his tone both surprised and amused. "You're supposed to be dead." "Miss me, Kellen?" I shot back. Kellen, rogue witch, thief, and the only person who had dared defy the Coven after my fall. He died trying to steal the Ember Heart. Yet here he was alive. Another confirmation. The past had truly been rewritten. "You look different," he said, eyes narrowing. "Stronger." "I've had time to think." "About?" I met his gaze. "About how to burn the High Council to ash." His grin widened, sharp as a blade. Now that's the Reina I remember. But beneath his humor I caught it, the flicker of fear. He knew that kind of fire didn't come from grief. It came from a woman who had already walked through death, and decided she preferred it to mercy. Later, as I stood on the rooftop overlooking the sleeping city, my magic stirred again. Restless, alive, dangerous. The wind whispered through my hair, carrying the faint scent of smoke and destiny. I wasn't just back. I was rewriting fate. And this time, no one would betray me and walk away unscathed. Magic tastes like iron when you lie. That's what the elders used to tell us. That a witch's tongue will burn if she deceives another of her kind. I guess I've gotten used to the burn. The Coven's citadel loomed ahead. All obsidian towers and glowing runes, suspended above the city like a judgment waiting to fall. My heart thudded in my chest as I passed through the illusionary veil. The guards didn't even blink. Of course they didn't. To them, Reina Vale had never been executed. Because my death hadn't happened yet. The moment I stepped inside, the hum of ancient wards crawled up my skin. They were watching me. Every witch and wizard bound to the council's seal. I kept my breathing steady and my smile sharp. The grand hall was full of whispers. A familiar voice sliced through them. Raina Vale. Back from your sabbatical. Darius. The sound of his voice hit harder than I wanted it to. Smooth as velvet, dangerous as fire. I turned, every muscle tensed. There he stood, dressed in midnight robes, his dark hair falling over eyes that still carried that same impossible warmth. High Counselor, I said, bowing slightly, hiding the tremor in my voice. Did you miss me? He smiled, slow and devastating. You always did enjoy making an entrance. If he only knew how many times I'd replayed our last meeting in my mind. The betrayal, the blade of fire through my heart, his whispered apology. The memory burned behind my eyes, but I kept my tone playful. I heard the council's been losing control of the Emberheart's resonance. Thought you might need help. A spark of interest flickered in his gaze. You were never one to resist forbidden power. Neither were you. The air between us crackled. He took a step closer, his magic brushing against mine, testing, teasing like he still had the right. I wanted to set him on fire and kiss him in the same breath. Instead I laughed. Careful, Darius. Touch me again and I might think you care. He smirked, but his eyes lingered too long. I never stopped. Liar. My soul still remembered the burn of his betrayal. I turned away before the truth in his voice could reach me. Where's the council chamber? We have work to do. As we walked the corridors, I could feel eyes following me. Whispers like serpents slithered through the air. Witches gossiping, mages murmuring about my return. The Fire Witch is back, someone hissed. She should have stayed dead. Maybe she did. I ignored them all. Let them fear me. Let them remember the name Raina Vale. That night, I slipped into the lower halls, the forbidden archives where the coven hid its darkest records. Kellen waited by the sigil door, tapping his boot impatiently. You're late, he muttered. Darius loves to talk. Still pretty. Still a liar. He snorted. Perfect. Together we broke the seal. The ward screamed as the lock melted away, flooding the chamber with golden light. Inside were rows upon rows of soul crystals, fragments of witches who'd been executed, their power trapped forever. And at the center, a pedestal pulsing faintly red. The Ember Heart. I approached it slowly. The last time I'd seen it, it had been the weapon that destroyed me. Kellen's voice dropped. You sure about this, Raina? Once we take it, there's no going back. I met his gaze. I died once for trusting the wrong man. This time I trust myself. I reached out, and the Ember Heart responded like it had been waiting for me. Flames curled around my hand, whispering my name in tongues older than light. Power surged through me, wild, painful, intoxicating. And then, Raina. Darius's voice behind me, cold now, sharp with betrayal and something deeper. He stepped into the chamber, eyes fixed on the burning stone in my palm. You shouldn't have come back. I smiled, letting the fire dance higher. Oh, but I did. And this time, Darius, I'm the one holding the match. The Ember Heart flared, casting his face in crimson glow. And for a heartbeat, the man I once loved looked like a stranger made of ash and guilt. That night, the city sky burned faintly red. Whispers spread like wildfire. The Fire Witch had returned. The night I stole the Ember Heart, the city trembled. Every flame flickered like it was holding its breath. Every witch who'd ever whispered my name felt it, the surge of ancient fire roaring back to life. And somewhere deep inside me something snapped. By dawn my veins hummed with the artifact's power. The Ember Heart wasn't just magic. It was memory. The raw, pulsing echo of every witch who'd ever burned for their truth. I could feel their pain singing beneath my skin, begging to be unleashed. Kellen paced the rooftop beside me, his cloak whipping in the wind. You've got half the council hunting you already, he said. We can disappear. Start over. I laughed short, bitter. Disappear? I didn't crawl out of death just to run again. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Then at least let me help you do it smart. What's the plan? I stared at the horizon, the sun bleeding red over the skyline. Burn them from the inside. One by one. But the words felt heavier than before. Revenge sounded sweeter when you weren't holding the power to end the world in your hand. By the second night, I'd infiltrated the High Council's gala, the one meant to honor unity among the magical factions. A perfect nest of vipers. I wore a gown the color of blood and flame, my sigil hidden under illusion. Whispers followed me like shadows. Reyna Vale? Alive? No, can't be. She was executed. Then who's wearing her fire? Darius saw me the moment I stepped into the ballroom. His eyes widened, not in shock but in something worse. Recognition. Regret. He crossed the floor, every step deliberate. You shouldn't be here. Oh, relax, I murmured, swirling my drink. I'm just here to toast the hypocrisy. He caught my wrist before I could walk away. His magic flared, hot, desperate. You're playing with fire you can't control, Reyna. I met his gaze. I am fire. For a heartbeat, silence stretched. The orchestra's song faded, the crowd's whispers vanished. It was just us, standing in the ruin of something that once felt sacred. You think I wanted to betray you? He said, voice low. You think I had a choice? I ripped my wrist free, flames flickering along my arm. You always had a choice. You just chose power over me. Then why did you come back? Because I still loved you. Because revenge wasn't enough. But I couldn't say that. So instead I smirked. To remind you what it feels like to lose everything. That night, I met Kellen in the catacombs under the city. The ember heart pulsed between us, its light throwing restless shadows on the stone. He's getting under your skin, Kellen said, voice tight. I glared. He's my target. He was your love. That's ancient history. He stepped closer, searching my face. You sure? Because if you hesitate, even for a second, I won't. But the lie burned. And magic, cruel thing that it was, made sure I tasted the iron of it on my tongue. The next morning, smoke curled above the city, one of the council's fortresses reduced to ash. My work. My message. The fire which had returned for blood. Yet even as flames consumed my enemies, I couldn't stop thinking about Darius's eyes at the gala. The way guilt had looked too much like grief. Had he mourned me? Had he ever tried to save me? The ember heart's whispers grew louder, ancient and cruel. Love is the first kindling. Betrayal is the flame. I clenched my fist until sparks danced from my palm. Then let it burn. But deep down I wasn't sure who I meant, him or me. That night when I returned to my hideout, I found a single note waiting, sealed with Darius's sigil. Meet me where the fire first began. My breath caught. The old chapel, where he'd once kissed me under moonlight, before everything fell apart. Kellen cursed under his breath. It's a trap. Probably, I said. But if it's not? If it's not, it's your undoing. I smiled faintly. Maybe some things are worth burning twice for. The moon was ablaze tonight. Sharp, merciless, silver enough to cut through lies. I stood at the edge of the chapel ruins, the place where Darius and I had once sealed our bond. A circle of fire, a promise of forever. Back then I thought our magic was love. Turns out it was the spell that killed me. The air shimmered as I crossed the threshold. The ward still remembered me. They sighed like ghosts welcoming their queen home. He was already there. Darius leaned against the altar, the same one we'd scorched with our first kiss, the sigils faintly glowing beneath his hands. His robe was undone, his expression bare. None of the High Council's cold perfection tonight. Just the man who had once whispered my name like a prayer. Reyna, he said softly. You came. I laughed under my breath. Of course I did. You asked so nicely. Still hiding behind your sarcasm. Still pretending you have a soul. That made him flinch, and I hated that it still hurt me to see it. I shouldn't care. He was the reason my blood had turned to ash. The reason I died choking on his magic. Why? I asked, voice low. Why the note? Why now? He stepped closer, slow, cautious, like approaching a wounded animal. Because I need you to know the truth before you do something you can't take back. Oh, darling, I said, a cruel smile curling my lips. I've already done that. Several times. His magic flickered, not with anger but pain. The ember heart. It's not what you think. It feeds on memory. Every soul you burn, it devours what's left of you. I know. I lifted my hand, the stone's glow bleeding through my skin. And I'm not afraid to disappear if it means taking you with me. Reyna, listen to me. His voice broke like thunder. You think I betrayed you for power? I sold my soul to the council to save you. They were going to execute your entire coven. You would have burned with them if I hadn't. Stabbed me through the heart? I snapped. Hell of a rescue plan. He took another step forward. It was the only way to break their blood oath. Your death freed them. You died so they could live. My breath hitched. The world tilted. You're lying. He didn't move. Didn't even blink. Look inside the Ember Heart. You'll see. The artifact pulsed violently, sensing my rage. I reached for the fire, and the flames obeyed. The chapel exploded into gold and crimson light, our magic colliding midair like storm and wildfire. Stop! Darius shouted, shielding himself. It will consume you. Maybe that's what I want. I cried. To burn so bright that even your ghosts can't forget me. The Ember Heart roared, and suddenly I saw it. Flashes. Memories not mine. Witches spared from pyres. Myra's laughter echoing in safety. The coven escaping through secret portals. Darius standing alone before the council. His eyes hollow as he whispered the incantation that killed me. My knees buckled. The fire flickered, confused. You saved them? His voice was raw. And lost you. I stared at him, the man who destroyed me to save everything I loved. The man I came back to kill. The Ember Heart burned hotter, feeding on my confusion. Flames licked up my arm, curling toward my throat. Darius moved faster than thought, grabbing my wrist. His magic collided with mine. Fire and shadow merging, burning, binding. You're killing yourself, he hissed. Let it go. Tears blurred my vision. I can't. Yes, you can. He pressed his forehead to mine, desperate, trembling. You came back because the world wasn't done with you yet. Not for vengeance. For balance. His words echoed in the hollow of my chest, and for the first time since my rebirth, I felt the truth settle like ash, heavy but pure. I let go. The Ember Heart dimmed, its light sinking back into silence. My knees hit the stone floor, Darius's arms catching me before I fell. The fire in me quieted, not extinguished, just at peace. You should have told me, I whispered. I tried, he said, voice thick. You never would have believed me. I let out a trembling laugh. You're probably right. He smiled faintly. You always hated being wrong. I still do. Our foreheads rested together, the ruins around us whispering with the ghosts of our past. The air smelled of smoke and salt and something tender, something alive. I thought I came back for revenge, I murmured. But maybe I just came back for you. His eyes softened. Then don't leave again. For the first time in 2 lifetimes I didn't. The moon watched in silence as the last of the Ember Heart's magic sank into our joined hands. Not destruction this time, but rebirth. Fire and shadow finally won. When the sun rose, it found us still in the ruins, wrapped in smoke and silence, reborn in the ashes of everything we once destroyed. For the first time in forever, I wasn't afraid of the light. Darius's hand was warm against mine, our fingers still faintly glowing where the Ember Heart's power had fused us together. The artifact itself was gone, dissolved into us, its essence woven through our veins like starlight reborn. What happens now? I asked quietly. He looked out toward the horizon, where the first gold spilled over the shattered windows. Now we rebuild, or burn the rest of them down. Your choice. A laugh slipped out before I could stop it, soft, broken, real. I've done enough burning for 1 lifetime. 2, he corrected gently. I met his eyes. They were still the color of midnight, still haunted, still human. You knew this would happen, didn't you? That the Ember Heart would find me again. I hoped, he said. And feared. It was never meant to be controlled by one witch. It needed balance, fire and shadow. Us. The truth shimmered in the air between us, fragile and terrifying. In our past life we'd been lovers and enemies, destroyers and martyrs. In this one we were both the curse and the cure. By midday the city knew my name again. The council had fallen. The wards that kept the covens bound cracked one by one, their runes splintering like glass. Witches walked free through the streets for the first time in centuries, their sigils glowing proudly under the sun. Some called me savior. Others called me heretic. I didn't care what they called me. I only cared that they were free. Kellen met me near the old spell bazaar, his grin sharper than ever. You actually did it. The fire witch, back from the grave, topples the council and doesn't turn the world to ash. Miracles do happen. Careful, I said with a smirk. I might start believing in them. His expression softened. You're staying then? I glanced at Darius waiting a few paces away, his cloak billowing like a shadow carved from wind. For now, I said. Fire needs tending or it dies. Kellen winked. Then tend carefully, Queen of Ashes. That night the city celebrated. Fireworks, real and magical, painted the sky. For once flames meant joy, not judgment. Children danced in the streets, sparks spinning from their fingertips. The world had turned and I had turned with it. I found Darius on the rooftop of our old tower, watching the stars blaze. The wind tugged at his hair. The golden light from the sky danced across his face. You still brood like it's an art form, I teased. He smiled. Old habits. New world. I reminded him, stepping closer. Time to make better ones. He turned, brushing a strand of hair from my face. What would you have me do, Fire Witch? I reached for him, for the man who had killed me, loved me, saved me and nearly ruined me, and pressed my palm against his chest. Stay. Live. With me. He covered my hand with his own, and the faint glow of the ember heart sparked between us, not as fire this time but as warmth. Life. I can do that, he said softly. I leaned into him, resting my head against his shoulder as the city burned bright beneath us, not with destruction but with rebirth. The stars shimmered above like 1,000 unseen witnesses. Somewhere the gods must have been laughing. Once I thought revenge was my destiny. Now I knew better. Fire wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to renew. And as dawn bled into gold, I whispered to the wind, to every witch who had ever burned before me. We rise again. Every time. The world answered in a hush of heat and light, and for the first time, the fire inside me didn't ache. It belonged. The dawn rose soft and golden, kissing the ruins where our war had ended. I turned to Darius, blood on his hands, light in his eyes, and for the first time in both our lives we didn't need to run. The world that once burned us had bloomed again. The curses were broken, the debts paid. Do you think? I whispered, my voice trembling. We were ever meant to survive this? He smiled, weary but sure. No. But we were meant to find each other again. I reached for his hand, and for once it didn't tremble. The fire within me no longer sought vengeance, only warmth. As the wind carried the last embers of yesterday into the sky, I knew my story wasn't ending. It was simply beginning again. And from the ashes we rose, not as ghosts of what was lost, but as souls reborn in light. Sometimes the fire that destroys you is the same one that forges who you're meant to be. And sometimes the person who once watched you burn is the one who helps you rise. If this tale touched something inside you, if you felt Raina's pain, her fury, her rebirth, then let's keep that fire alive together. Like, subscribe, and join me again on Dreamfire Tales, where love defies time, and every ending burns into a new beginning.